Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is Friday, the 15th of August, 2025. And these are the stories that we'll be discussing or understanding during the course of the show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with Narendra Modi's unilateral statement on the Indus Water Treaty. On the eve, of course, of India's Independence Day, he addressed the nation, and in this address he talks about not interesting issues but very strange perspectives from the Indian front, especially when it comes to the Indus Water Treaty. And he narrates to the Indian public that the Indian stance on the abeyance of the Indus Water Treaty continues as such. In fact, he goes a step further. We'll try to understand and decipher what's going to happen in fact with the Indus Water Treaty, and whether whatever Narendra Modi has said in his statement really does hold true when it comes to the application of it all, and what could be the consequences. This is our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the flash floods in different parts of the country that have wreaked havoc with Pakistan, and of course the Prime Minister has also called an emergency meeting on this very situation as well, and the chairman NDMA is also briefing him as far as the different efforts that are being undertaken by the government as well as the armed forces are concerned. This is going to be our second story, in which we'll be highlighting different aspects of these latest flash floods and Gulf as well. Then we'll be talking about Israel's plans to establish illegal settlements in Jerusalem, and what kind of impact is this going to have. It seems as if Spotrich is hell-bent on moving forward with this, and he has the backing of not only the Israeli government but also the US. But will this actually take place with the opposition that is gaining ground from across the world, and even with the so-called allies of Israel? This is going to be our third story. Our fourth story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the Trump-Putin summit that's going to take place later tonight in Alaska. Because of the time difference, of course it's going to take place today, but because of the 12+ hour time difference, we won't know till very, very late in the night of what happened with this very summit. It's very important from different perspectives. First, Zelensky is not there. He'll be brought in after this meeting is held, and it has been indicated that he might be brought into Alaska as well to discuss if things move in the right direction. But is Russia wanting to do the needful? Is the European Union also going to back the decision taken by Trump and Vladimir Putin? Is what is the question that is being asked by many analysts across the world. This is going to be our fourth story. Our final story concerns a sports showcase for humanoid robots that has started in China. It's very interesting, and what Chinese analysts say is that this is going to be a litmus test for these humanoid robots, as well as to how they can function and how their functioning can also be improved with the passage of time. This is the lineup for today, ladies and gentlemen. Let's begin with our first story, and our first story concerns Modi, his statement on the 15th for the 15th of August. That is their Independence Day, and what he said, and also what he meant to say from all that he said regarding the Indus Water Treaty. We've been joined by two guests to discuss that in more detail. Let me introduce them one by one. Brigadier Rashid Wali Janjua Sahab, defense analyst, Dow Jones us online. So does Ambassador G.R. Baloch Sahab, who's a former ambassador and foreign affairs analyst. We'll begin with you, Brigadier Rashid Wali Janjua Sahab. Indus Water Treaty is nothing new as far as controversy in India is concerned, but now on the Independence Day address of Narendra Modi, his branding of the Indus Water Treaty as unjust. Do you feel this is an attempt to dismantle one of the world's most successful, to date at least, water sharing agreements that has survived despite wars for 6 decades?
Yes, Modi's statements are a continuation of illegal stance that India has taken, and there is no basis in morality, diplomacy, or international law, whatever they say. In fact, they have exclusive rights to the waters of 3 eastern rivers, complete rights, and Pakistan has right to the western rivers only, and that too 7% amongst the waters that is authorized to India as per the Indus Water Treaty. Now, since India is allowed certain non-consumptive use, including the agriculture use, India started a series of dams, and especially our most vulnerable river is Chenab, where there are a lot of sites for dam building. Around 60 dams are being planned And we are fearful that India, in the garb of silt control and enhancement of pondage, would create reservoirs and storage facility which might give it capability to manipulate the river flow, and that can act as a weapon. So India is continually trying to weaponize the river flow, and as an upper riparian, it is not abiding by Indus Water Treaty. It is holding the treaty illegally in abeyance, and these statements are a continuation of the same irrational, illogical, and illegal policy.
I totally agree with you on that, and it really, defies all kind of logic or understanding. I don't know from where the Indian Prime Minister take out statements such as these. Baloch Saab, Modi says blood and water cannot flow together, quote unquote. Isn't India openly admitting to weaponizing water against Pakistan and committing what we have been calling since quite some time water terrorism?
Yeah, indeed it is. And it's not something new. This was for the first time he had uttered these horrible words and highly irresponsible words from the leader of a so-called biggest democracy in the world. And indeed, the water, the humanitarian law says that even the UN actually, one of the articles says that even threat to use water or the sources of sustenance of the human life is a crime against humanity. So Modi has already committed a crime. That said, I think we have been saying it again and again, but what we need to understand, a couple of things. Number one, that he has not kind of gone back on what he wants to do in terms of keeping a militant stance towards Pakistan. So a couple of things he will do with this pronouncement. One, he will not allow the inspectors or the third-party mediations to go and check whatever construction they have made in terms of the dams, which they were allowed a certain design which would give them a run-of-the-river water for the generation of the electricity. But now they'll go and also have the water blocked and they would store it. So they'll say that we already have said it, so we'll not let any expert, be it the permanent arbitration or the World Bank or the third-party mediators, which are appointed with the consultations. So essentially, the operation of the Indus Water Treaty would be, in a way, be withheld, because they have said it is that they are holding the treaty in abeyance. So it means he has reiterated that. That again shows that Pakistan has to be prepared for yet another aggression. I hope it doesn't happen, because the region cannot afford, we have already been saying. But I think saying this, we will take his words on the face value. We cannot afford to say that it was only for the public consumption. Maybe there is one very easy way to say that they are for the audience in India. No, I think I, as an analyst, take these words very seriously. We should lodge a protest, number one, with the Indian High Commission, whichever is the channel. Our High Commissioner of India should kind of also protest. We should also, now is the time to invoke the UN Security Council. That here is a country and its leader has been not only announcing that they'll violate the Indus Water Treaty, but they probably are going repeating again and again. So a terrorism act under the concerned relevant articles, the UN, where the water is weaponized, has been committed. So I don't know why we should wait. My recommendation has been, in my own internal discussion with the friends and analysts, that we should go ahead and invoke our rights in the UN Security Council, and let's United Nations Security Council once again reiterate its comment, although it has been said again and again. At last, I think the court again reiterated that Pakistan has all the rights. But I think now is the time that this has to be exposed. Indian aggression has to be exposed. Indian threat has to be explored, and we have to really take it very seriously. And also that we should not only that stop there. We should make demarches to our friends all over the world, wherever we have embassies, and show this face of India. There is no waiting at all. In my view, it will be imprudent for us if we keep waiting till the time.
What you're trying to say is that we should not play the waiting game, and you should go ahead and react to what the Indian Prime Minister has said, because as you have said, his words seem more serious and it's just more than a mere statement that has been made on the eve of Indian Independence Day. I'd like to understand, Rashid Saab, India has also rejected the Permanent Court of Arbitration's recent report that favored Pakistan. It is pushing ahead with water diversion projects. Do you feel measures such as these are being used as a tool to cripple Pakistan's agricultural sector?
You see, India, what to talk of Court of Arbitration's decision, which is very explicit in favor of Pakistan, India has actually walked out of the treaty by holding it in abeyance, which is illegal, because according to Article 12 of the treaty, no single country can revoke it unilaterally. It is to be done through mutual consensus, and that too by negotiating a new treaty. So India is in material breach of the treaty. It has no right to walk out of it. And the World Bank as a facilitator has a role to play to persuade India to come back. Now, having said that, answer to your question, yes, to cripple Pakistan's agriculture. Pakistan is a water-stressed country with per capita water now plummeting down to as low as 947 cubic meter per capita. So we naturally would be very badly impacted, because western rivers are our mainstay, and Indians are trying to cripple. But this is in sync, in accord with their strategy of pressurizing and establishing their hegemony in South Asia, like they are doing in case of other intractable disputes, Kashmir dispute, for instance. They are deliberately trying to stoke these tensions so that Pakistan remains on tenterhooks. Pakistan's water security is imperiled. And you must understand one thing, that water is a public good that, as per the international convention, which was even signed after 1960, in 1997, Pakistan has certain rights as lower riparian, but unfortunately, international law, that is the water law, is very, very weak. It gives very less explicit rights to lower riparians, except that principle of responsible and equitable use in case of both riparians, upper and lower. So rights of lower riparian are not very effectively defined as per the 1997 convention and also the Helsinki Accord. But Indus Water Treaty, that was a treaty that was facilitated by the World Bank. That is a very strong and effective treaty which has been, safeguarding the rights of Pakistan as lower riparian. And that is why we have no option but to persuade India through legal means, through diplomatic means, and if all options are exhausted, then we retain the option of using non-kinetic means. We must know that we have a right to take India to UN General Assembly and to raise this issue in committee number 2, committee number 6, and committee number 3, which deal with these issues of economic rights, water, so that India's illegality is called out and an advisory opinion is sought from International Court of Justice. Same, if we don't want to go to General Assembly, we have an option to go to UN Security Council, because it's an existential threat choking of water flow to Pakistan. So UN Security Council can also seek an advisory opinion from ICG ICJ, and based on that, Pakistan has a very strong legal case. In fact, on legal grounds, Pakistan is very solid, and Pakistan always has been reiterating and signaling back to India in response to several missives that India has written, that they want to bilateralize the issue outside the framework of the treaty. Pakistan's stance is grounded in absolute legality, that there is a treaty and we must discuss any aspect, even if Indians have some concerns about environment, about demography, about increased agriculture use. Those all concerns must be highlighted, but Indians, since they are not acting in good faith, they have not shared those concerns with us. And my assessment is that India is trying to prolong this issue and raise the ante, and dangle this threat in front of Pakistan. And India would always, of late, it has started adding another aspect, that is security situation and terrorism. Pakistan would be accused of these security situation issues in Kashmir, and India would like to conflate the issue of terrorism with water flow and keeping Pakistan on the tenterhooks and bad-mouthing Pakistan in international fora.
Yes, this is what India is doing. It is trying all mechanisms to keep Pakistan on tenterhooks because it has lost a major war with Pakistan a couple of weeks back, and it cannot digest the fact that it could not stand up to Pakistan, which it did not consider important enough in the past, and now it is forced to consider it at par with itself. G.R. Baloch sahab, by unilaterally putting the treaty in abeyance and refusing arbitration, isn't India starting a very dangerous precedent that you can abandon, any country can now abandon any water agreement with any other country during potential disputes?
Indeed, I think India is proving that dire prediction that some analyst had made, that the future wars are going to be wars on water. So it appears that India wants to take this mutually destructive step, which is very, very dangerous. And it is a highly irresponsible. I mean, one did not expect that a country which claims to have some kind of a entitlement to certain important chairs on the table, like Security Council and so on and so forth, and that very country behaves in this irresponsible manner within the region, where it's trying to put the life in jeopardy of 250 million people. How can that be possible? So I think this anarchic regime in India is putting the peace and security of South Asia, its own people, and obviously is threatening to put our people in such a dire kind of situation. This has to be effectively, I mean, there has to be a very, very focused diplomatic effort. The international, in fact, law is pretty exhaustive. There are several safeguards that the UN Charter gives us, as was mentioned by the gentleman before me. And also there are like laws about the treaties, the Geneva Convention on Treaties. There's a law about the rights of the lower riparians. And there's several other international frameworks under which we can always invoke, and we must fight a very, 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 very effective legal battle at this point of time, diplomatic battle at this point of time, and obviously, as has been said, no less than the Prime Minister of Pakistan, as well the Chief of the Army Staff, Field Marshal, that we will be certainly reserve that we reserve the right of taking military action in case.
You know, this kind of a statement cannot not be taken seriously, you know, and the repercussions could be severe for not only Pakistan but for the entire region. Thank you very much, Jia Baloch sahab, to have joined us. Last question to you, Brigadier Rashid Wali Janjua sahab. Indus Water Treaty has long been a model of water diplomacy. Do you feel now India is undermining global confidence in international treaties by rejecting third-party arbitration? Well, speaking of third-party arbitration, it is also rejected when it comes to the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. But now, isn't it setting a new precedent
You see, while India might publicly resist direct mediation, international legal norms permit a discrete back channel or informal facilitation, particularly when tied to broader regional stability. So mediation must adhere, however, to the principles of neutrality and consent, which remain cornerstones of dispute resolution. The United States of America may be able to play such a role due to the precedent it set by facilitating a ceasefire in the recent India-Pakistan war. Under international law, however, third-party mediation requires the consent of both parties. I don't think India would agree to that. And so we are left with the only option is that from an international law perspective, Pakistan's most effective formal avenue remains the Indus Water Treaty is cooperative and dispute resolution mechanism as enshrined in Articles 8 and 9. World Bank as a facilitator and permanent court of arbitration can offer to mediate between the two countries. So Indus Water Treaty expressly enshrines these dispute resolution mechanisms which emphasize negotiation, neutral expert appraisal and arbitration within a legally binding framework. So we must adhere to that, and the most credible path for Pakistan to safeguard its water rights and promote regional stability lies in fully utilizing Indus Water Treaties, cooperative and dispute resolution mechanisms grounded in international law. So we have to ensure that the situation doesn't go to a stage where Pakistan has to invoke its right of self-defense as enshrined under Article 51 of the United Nations Charter, which is recognized under customary international law. So I only hope that things don't come to such a pass. An International Court of Justice, as it held in the case of Nicaragua versus United States, that the right to self-defense is indirectly triggered only if there has been an armed attack. In case of this, Pakistan's water security means that you choke the food security of Pakistan. So this is for international lawyers to mull over, but Pakistan would then reserve the right to go for a kinetic action if it observes that India is trying to divert the flow of western rivers, particularly this Chenab, south of Salal, and through gravity canals, or by constructing pondage which is not allowed as per the relevant annexes and design features as given in Indus Water Treaty. So
all right, Brigadier Saab, thank you very much for your time and of course for your output as far as this very important issue is concerned. The fact remains that the repercussions of such a statement, if put into action, could be severe, and Pakistan needs to take all options in hand, and this is what I'm sure Pakistan is already deciding to do. But let's hope it doesn't come to any extreme action from any side and that better sense prevails. That is all we can hope for. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the current spells of rain that are inundating different parts of the country and are causing casualties, deaths, injuries, and severe loss to infrastructure. We have seen the deaths that have surpassed 360 since the last couple of days. It's just in the last 24 hours, 49 people have lost their lives. The basic crux of the or the effect of these rains is being seen, or these flash floodings are being seen in Azad Jammu and Kashmir, in Gilgit-Baltistan, and in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The fact also remains that the government is extremely vigilant, doing the needful, but as per the latest warnings, there are a lot of flood warnings in River Kabul, in River Indus, whether at Chashma or at Kalabagh, and River Kabul at Naushera, and this is just a part of the whole issue. We thought we'd take an expert to discuss more on what has been and what needs to be done in the coming days, because more rains are predicted across the country in the next days as well. So we've been joined by the CEO of Weather Wali, Junaid Yamin. Thank you very much, Junaid, to have joined us. Always a pleasure to have you here. Flash floods claimed 49 lives during the last 24 hours, around 360 lives since the 26th of June. The heaviest toll is in GB, in KP, and in Azad Jammu and Kashmir. How important is the usage of early warning and response systems in this context?
It's a sad state of affairs, and yes, the role of early warnings is critical. So NDMA, PMD, and ourselves, we issued warnings. So number one, these warnings have to be taken very, very seriously. So whenever there is a warning, we need to sort of understand that there is a high risk area, in the high risk area where particularly the flood will happen is unknown at this stage because of limited infrastructure. Obviously, we need to have very extensive infrastructure to be able to hyper locally predict where what areas are going to be impacted the most. But up until that happens, any news and information and early warnings issued by any authority should be taken seriously, and caution should be exercised.
All right. Speaking of caution, glacial lake outburst flood or GLOFs, we've discussed with you in previous shows as well.
Yeah.
But these alerts in Gilgit-Baltistan are becoming more frequent. We know that the same region's glaciers also feed 75% of our water supplies as well.
Yeah.
How are we preparing for the cascading risks that could emanate from GLOFs in GB?
Yeah. So as per our analysis, when global temperatures are rising, and especially even in the north 48 degrees or somewhere around that, when that happens, obviously there's going to be water melting quickly, and there is going to be GLOF events more happening. And the current scenario climate trends indicate that the rain intensity per rain event is increasing and the number of rainy days is decreasing.
All right.
So that means these events will happen more and more, and we need to be prepared from every aspect and handle it with, obviously there needs to be extensive planning and then execution part.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
Climate science tells us that rainfall between June 24 and July 23rd was 10 to 15% heavier because of global warming, and every increase of temperature by 1.1 degree centigrade contributes to heavier monsoon rains.
Yeah.
How urgent is, given these facts, our transition towards clean and green energy?
All right. So a very important thing to understand is, so climate change is a global concept, right? Our footprint, carbon footprint and our emissions compared to the rest of the world are quite insignificant.
All right, Junaid, we have to come back to you, but we have to go to this short break. We'll be Welcome back, and we're discussing with the CEO of Weather Wali, Junaid Yameen, about the recent flash floods and the effect of GLOFs to Pakistan's weather system as well. Junaid, we were discussing about the excessive rains that have happened across Pakistan, and this rainfall is also partly attributed to the increase in temperatures. I'd like to also add to this the latest information that we've received regarding our Prime Minister's who has chaired an emergency meeting on this very situation, with the chairman and DMA also briefing him on this. What needs to be done by the government and the NDMA in order to not only apprise and warn the people, but literally take effective measures to prevent the loss of lives and property as much as possible?
A very, very good question. So we are partners of NDMA. We have given them access to our network of weather stations as well. And NDMA has been very kind, and the teams collaborate. So our teams and their teams collaborate. We need to extend this collaboration to PMD as well. And then there needs to be public and private engagement. So more such private sector players also need to come into the equation, as the World Met Organization and the World Bank also states that climate change is a mammoth task, cannot be handled by the public sector, the private sector, or not-for-profit sector alone. We all need to be on the same page, and a whole of community approach needs to be taken, including anticipatory actions, providing early warnings, obviously we need to ensure that encroachments are removed. We need to ensure that natural waterways are clear, they are not disrupted. We need to extend these river flow areas a bit further. We need to plan other infrastructural facilities as well. And this monsoon is going to increase. We need to have, in long-term solution, we need to have more bigger dams, but dams, it takes years and years. There are some players, community players in Kashmir, that are building natural ponds. They're like not natural ponds, man-made small reservoirs, water reservoirs. We need more of those water reservoirs.
Right.
So communities, the public sector, the private sector, the not-for-profit sector, all of them needs to have
Need to join hands and work together to implement measures before it's way too late, and to implement measures that should be implemented and not just remain on paper. Speaking of community-led models, there is a lot of talk of structural solutions like elevated structures, like moving up or relocating communities, like such as moving over the communities. These have been modeled by different communities for Pakistan as well. Elevating homes above the floodlines and building bund walls with controlled drainages are also some of the things that are in process. How can such community-led models be scaled on a national level in your point of view?
Again, to my earlier point, we need to have a well-coordinated effort. So all the players need to be on the same page. And regarding your point about elevated buildings, yes, with pillars, and we have them in Philippines and many other areas. But imagine if that building is actually built in a riverbed. So if it's there, then it's less effective. So it needs to be clear of that area, and it needs to be still, to give it an extra bit of contingency or risk mitigation. Then those buildings would work too. But the encroachments and illegal settlements in those areas, and people need to be relocated out of those areas, and it needs to be a strategy. Another point I would like to mention, some easier solution. For instance, the CDA mandates. It's an example from Australia. If the CDA mandates rainwater harvesting or rainwater catchment for every house in Islamabad. So a one canal house has got approximately 250 square meters of area. Average rainfall of Islamabad is around 1500 mm in Banigala area. So that's 375,000 liters a year one canal house could store, and that water is not going on the roads. It's actually going to the rainwater tank, and then that water could be dropped into groundwater recharge as well. So a simplest solution, mandate it, and that would reduce flash flooding in Islamabad. Similar ideas and concepts from around the globe can be adopted into Pakistan, but it needs to have a proper change management campaign associated with it.
All right. What kind of reforestation strategies should also be put into place in order to decrease this deforestation drive?
So we're working on an amazing project. We're approaching the different government departments and entities about our project as well. So basically, if we plant trees, we register a project with UNFCCC. We define a methodology, and we make the private sector or even farmers plant trees. That could be, we can get carbon credits for it. That could be an alternate revenue stream for the government. For instance, KP government or many other governments, provincial governments have done huge tree drives. We are still in a position to generate revenue against it. So you associate that with revenue, attach it. So if then planting of trees would become second nature, because one, you're doing good for the environment, and two, you're receiving revenues against it. So such projects should be given a priority. So that's carbon markets and carbon credits. That's also an area we work.
I mean, there are a lot of measures that need to be taken, but all these measures need to be implemented at the earliest, and they need to have the support of all the parties concerned. I think together, fist clenched, this is how we can achieve the needful under the current circumstances, and that is why I'm sure the Prime Minister has also, called this emergency meeting. Thank you very much, Junaid, to have joined us. CEO, Weather Wali, ladies and gentlemen, Junaid Yami talking to us about the of these recent floods and the excessive rains that have happened, and of course the impact of Gulfs that, if God forbid, could be disastrous for the Gilgit-Baltistan and other regions in Pakistan as well. Thank you very much, Junaid, to have joined us. Let's come to our next segment, and our next story concerns, of course, Israel and its plan to establish legal settlements in Jerusalem. Now, this has raised the eyebrows of many other countries, even those countries who are so-called the allies of Israel. We've been joined by Dr. Salma Malik, who's a foreign affairs expert, to discuss more on that. Mr. Smotrich, Dr. Salma, openly declares that the even settlement, this settlement that is being talked about, is going to bury the idea of a Palestinian state. Is this the final nail in the coffin for the two-state solution?
Thank you so much, Omar, for having me in your program. Unfortunately, one cannot be very optimistic when it comes to Palestinian future, and the way the international community, primarily the Muslim world, has lived up to the Palestinian plight. So if the Israelis and the way they have been going around creating this genocide and massacre of the Palestinians, it is very much obvious that this was primarily the end game for the Israelis, that they would make things unlivable for the Palestinians. They would kill them, they would erase them, and that is something which they have been doing with impunity even in the past. So it is not something which is unprecedented, or it would not happen, and the international community will suddenly wake up to the plight of the Palestinians and then they'll start thinking about them. No, that's not how it has been. It will never be. Those countries which were supporting the Palestinian cause in a very big fashion, especially namely Iran, Israel, and the US, have tried and schooled them as well. So other countries are a bit fearful of the type of fate that they would receive at the hand of the Americans, as well as the Israelis. So that is why we see that overall there is a very complacent attitude towards anything that is coming as part of this endgame, and there is a silent acceptance of the fate accomplished. So unfortunately, I don't really have anything optimistic to say. And unless and until there is a coming together of the Muslim countries, them forming a pressure group and asking the U.S. not to support the Israeli intent, this will go further and this will happen.
All right. Also, I'd like to understand, you talked about, external influences. Now, the United Nations, the EU, the United Kingdom and other powers have condemned this plan by Israel as illegal under international law, yet Israel continues to move forward regardless. What does it show as far as enforcing the laws by the international community when it comes to Palestine is concerned?
Well, it's not the question of, it is very much a question of the Palestinians, but mostly it's a question of how Israel has been carrying out such activities, the genocide today, and what it has been doing in the past with complete impunity, defiance, laughing off at the international human rights and justice regimes, and it has been totally defiant. And it has been supported wholeheartedly, despite some reluctance from time to time, because the U.S. also fears a backlash from the home front, and even Jewish groups that are working in the U.S. Who have been supporting the Palestinian cause as well. But by and large, Israel finds a very strong support in the U.S., which emboldens them. And even if it did not find the support in the U.S., it has its lobbies and interest groups so deeply entrenched in the global financial systems, in the political systems, in the societal systems.
That is true, so Dr. Salma, but the fact is, of course, we need to be cautiously optimistic, if not pessimistic. I'd also like to understand your point of view on the Trump-Putin meeting that is going to happen later tonight in Alaska, and of course, the Russia-Ukraine conflict is going to be the center of discussion. What realistic outcomes can emerge from this summit, and could this meeting, in your point of view, lay some kind of groundwork for ending the 3-year war in Ukraine?
Yes, I think both Putin as well as the U.S. Have been trying to find a way out of this quagmire, and they want something to come forward. And this is what both Putin as well as Trump, they have been trying, that there should be some breakthrough in this particular situation, and they find a middle ground. And now we see that that middle ground is becoming more clearer. It is emerging up, and it means several things for Trump. An end of the global isolation. It also means that he would be looked more favorably in the international arena. A lot of countries which are attached to Russia, getting the oil and energy supplies from Russia, are trying that such a regime happens, so that they can get less tariff imposed on.
You know, speaking of less tariffs and speaking of other countries involved, what of Ukraine? What about Zelensky? Do you feel he's going to be brought in this summit a bit later if the things go the right way? And also, what about the EU? Will they be also involved sometime at some juncture?
A complete, should we say, the scapegoat, and unfortunately, the victim of this particular larger charade of signing and having ceasefires, and Trump's free to go for a Nobel Prize. And unfortunately, this will happen. And this Zelensky will have to live with. And we have seen that, unfortunately, since Trump's return to power, there have been signs which sort of indicate a reversal of fortune for Zelensky and for the Ukrainians as well.
All right. So a reversal of fortune for Zelensky is what is in the cards, and what you foresee also is that there's going to be some ground that is going to be met in this meeting in Alaska between Trump and Putin. Let's see where things go on. Thank you very much, Dr. Salman Malik, to have joined us. We are a bit short of time, or else we would have continued talking to you for a bit more. Last story: China has kicked off a sports showcase of humanoid robots. 280 teams from 16 countries are competing in these Beijing Rocket Games. The organizers of these games say that these games are going to provide data for practical robot applications, and that is why there is a huge different kinds of sports activities in which these humanoid robots are taking part. And it's extremely interesting because, you know, whether it be track and field, table tennis, tackle robot specific challenges, from sorting medicines and handling materials to cleaning services, are being part of these games. And maybe this is going to lay the groundwork for how these humanoid robots are going to take part in daily life, or in our daily lives, or in the lives of all these countries that are participating in these games. Anyways, a very interesting new chapter as far as this robotics and AI is concerned. With that, we come to an end of today's Newsroom. It's a Friday. We'll see you inshallah after the weekend on Monday with news story segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Have a great one. Allah Hafiz.